Good morning, everybody. As I was saying, we had the technology problems last week, which I haven't resolved yet with my laptop. I just didn't have a chance to dive into that. Sometimes once you start something, it takes forever, right? So I just had some other things to deal with. And I was saying, I'm trying to fill out a form for my insurance online, and the form wasn't working properly. So I was on the phone, I was waiting for a call back, I was on the phone the next day, I was waiting for a call back, I was trying out the website, seeing if it refreshed, and it was just crazy stuff. But nice to see some of my regular friends back again and some new ones. If you're watching live, make sure that you put something in the comments because you will be entered into the raffle. And if you are watching the replay, welcome. I appreciate you coming and watching. All right. My raffle is for US only. And I really appreciate you guys coming on and seeing our coffee and a card. All right, speaking of coffee, I think I need a little swig. What's everybody drinking today? I have just good old Folgers today. We have a local Baltimore company called Zeke's, which I love all their coffee. I have a lot of specialty coffees. I grind the beans and, hi Patty. And I usually do that because it's just so good, such good stuff. But today was quick. Went right for the Folgers, just so we did something really quick today. We had the grandkids over for a sleepover last night. That was always fun. Debbie has her Diet Coke. All right. Patty has tea. All right. Good. Just get your morning cup of whatever. All right. Okay. Grandkids were over. They're downstairs playing with Grandpa right now. So if you hear a lot of giggling and laughing and screaming and squealing, that's them, and the kids are having fun too. All righty, ice water Nadine. Nadine, you're a tea person. Did you already have your tea for the morning? All right, whatever suits you. I have water here too, so I just have both. I always have my thing here, my covered cup, so I don't get anything messy. So 15% off Designer Series paper this month, all the way through the end of June. So I'm going to feature some use of the paper. All right, I gave you some measurements for a 6x6 sheet of Designer Series paper, or DSP. Okay, I have to remember that some people forget or don't know what DSP is. Sometimes when I'm doing my videos, I say, what's DSP? You can't assume, right? If anybody knows what that stands for, you know what I'm talking about. So I am going to be using today the Inked Botanicals. Okay, this paper here comes 6x6, has some, I just love the colors. They're just so soft and pretty, and it pairs with, let me show you some of the backs. There we go. Hi Becky, Becky from Washington. Nice. Okay, just listening today. Okay, Lois, that's fine. Yeah. All right, there we go. So beautiful paper, and it pairs with the stamp set, Inked and Tiled. All right, and this stamp set, I've mentioned this before, but in case you didn't hear it, this stamp set and all the patterns on the paper were actually created by the artist from taking real flowers and putting ink on them on the back and then pressing them onto the paper to get that pressed look, that stenciled look. Remember doing that in elementary school with leaves in the fall? Everybody did that, right? All the kids, you paint the leaves and then you press it down, or using apples. Remember cutting the apple in half and using them as a stamp, or potatoes sometimes, dipping it in paint and then using it like a stamp. Well, they used real flowers to create these images. And once they created them, these nice images here, they reproduce them onto the stamp and onto the paper. So you have some that are leaves or some that are flowers. And, speaking of leaves, here we go. Here's like a fall, looks like some oak leaves there. Okay. And backs, usually nice and soft, more subtle kind of prints or colors. So that one is really, really pretty. And it has a very narrow, I'm going to say, color palette, which kind of is nice. It's nice when you get papers that coordinate with a lot of different colors, but sometimes it's hard to know which colors you want to use, or sometimes it's, you say, oh darn, I don't have that color. This one only has 5. Calypso Coral, Crushed Curry, Lost Lagoon, Petal Pink, and Pool Party. All right, and also what's different about this, and I like too, that's the backgrounds are more vanilla than white. They do have some little highlights of white. You might be able to see it more here. It's a little bit on here. Can you see that there are little lines, horizontal lines going across in white, just to give a little contrast? And then on here, some of the little stencils are white, but mostly you have more of that vanilla. Now, I don't know about you. I tend to use white more often. It's more my go-to. And, but I do love the softness of the vanilla. So this is a good way for me to start using up my vanilla cardstock. Okay. So, yeah. So, no, 1 cup of coffee. Now it's time for water. Okay. Gotcha, Nadine. All right. Yeah, I know. Because if the pot's there, I just keep going to it. So I had a cup, and then I drank it halfway, and I filled it up again just to warm it up. All right, but then I don't mind putting it in the refrigerator and put it in a container. Then I have iced coffee for the day, and I try not to do too much of that either. Otherwise, I get too riled up and get anxious and shaky, and not good for stamping when you're shaky. Okay, so not a lot of materials today, but there is some, I'm not going to say difficult cutting, but kind of interest. You have to really kind of focus on how you're cutting this. Not so much the DSP, but the cardstock that it's all going to layer on. Now, I didn't design this layout. This is actually, I found this from another demonstrator, and I appreciate Patricia Dominicci for sharing this layout for the One Sheet Wonder. There are tons out there, guys. Just Google it and or make up your own. Right? It doesn't have to be, oh, it has to fit this way and that way. Some people do it, and it is very efficient. But sometimes, you know what I do? I just wing it. Sometimes I'll just take some paper, cut it up different shapes. I'll just use whatever's here. You don't have to have specific measurements. Just use what's there. Use your scraps. Okay, I have my little thing of scraps here. I have all different sizes in here. I might cut this down to half or even into squares and pair it up with something else. And even these teeny tiny pieces, you know what, you just mat them and you have a nice looking card. Put them together, layer them, overlap with other things. You're going to see that in the tutorial today. Okay, so I'm using this pattern here, and I'm going to try to flip the camera in a way that you can see it straight and not have to lay down sideways to watch me. I can always flip it later, but I don't want you to have to deal with that today. I want to congratulate Crystal for being the raffle winner for last time. I'll be sending you a sample of some DSP that is was from Celebration last year. It was from the Big Pack, and it was really lots of fun. You have lots of different colors and everything in there. So congratulations, Crystal. That's probably backwards. Anyway, Crystal Via, congratulations to you. I'll be sending that out. Send me your address and I can get that out. You can private message me or send it to Lorraine@stampwithlorraine.com. You could email me that. All right, that would be better actually, because that way I have all my information right on my email, and I like that. All right, I'm just going to work up here. All right, I have a narrow view, but we'll make it work, guys. Okay, happy Friday, Judy. Thank you so much. All right, so here's what we need, folks. 5 cards. All right, I know it's coffee and a card, but this technique, One Sheet Wonder, 6-inch piece of square of designer series paper, and we are going to make 5 cards. Of course, I have another sample I will show you that I did last night, but this is the one I'm going to wing doing today. Okay, so I have 5 card bases in Calypso Coral. That's one of the colors for the designer series paper. and it's 6 by 6, like I mentioned. Now this one, the cardstock, is actually 6.5 by 6 3/4. What I loved about this tutorial that Patricia Dominicci made was that she gave dimensions for the 6 by matting for the 6 by 6. So we are going to cut the cardstock in similar shapes, but just 1/8 of an inch bigger than we actually cut the designer series paper. So we don't have to measure each individual piece. We know that by cutting this in a similar pattern, we're going to get a match for each small piece of the 6 by 6. Does that make sense? Well, you'll see as we go along. I'm just going to get my card bases out of the way. And, oh, is this a little big here? No, that's good. Oh, that's the one that's a little short. Okay, well, I'll deal with that later. Okay, so what I kind of like to do, you know, sometimes I really maybe overthink those things, but I like to do things in a thoughtful way. And for me, it's going to be a little easier for me to cut the cardstock first, because that's a little bit more intricate. I'll get that out of the way. And then once I cut my designer series paper, I'm going to lay each piece over to the side to put it right on that piece so that I know how they all match up. It's just the way my mind likes things organized and in a logical fashion. So this is the part we're going to do first, and it's a little difficult on my narrow screen, but we'll get it. You need your paper trimmer. Okay, I'll make sure I get in the zone here. Maybe I could tip this a little bit more. Okay, got a little bit more in view. So I have this layout for the cardstock. I have it all measured out here from Patricia. I don't know Patricia, but I'm loving her right now. I'm going to email her and thank her for this. And I want to make sure she gets a shout out. So if you know Patricia, let her know that, you know, I'm loving this layout and sharing it. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut across the whole piece of cardstock here. So we have a piece that's 3 1/4 on top and 3 1/2 down below. So this is what I measured, I wrote here. So 3 1/4 and 3 1/2. So I'm just going to cut, I'm going to measure to 3 1/2. And I know that's going to be my bottom part. Now it's important, I'm going to turn this way. It's important that you lay it out in a way that you see it on the diagram. That way you're not going to get the pieces all mixed up. All right? All right, let's see if I can raise this just a little bit and get more in view. Okay. So I'm going to just lay this on the side just like that. Like I said, if I had a wide screen, it would be easier. Now this top piece, I'm going to just focus on this part now. Just this top part here. This, I'm going to cut 3 1/8 wide, and I'm going to trim off that little bottom so it's 3 1/8 tall. So this piece right here, we're going to cut a 3 1/8 square out of this left side. So back with the trimmer. Okay, if you're working along with me, I'm going on a little bit of the slow side, but if you miss something, certainly watch the replay and catch it back. Okay, 3 1/8. All right, this piece I'm going to keep to the right because that's the piece I have to cut next. It's keeping it oriented. I'm going to turn it again to 3 1/8. And we have just that little bit left over. Put that aside. And I'm just double checking my measurements. 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to keep that right here because that's where it is on the diagram. I have to stay organized and make sure I don't get these pieces mixed up. Okay, now let's work on the right hand side. So we want 3 1/8 wide again by 2 1/8. So I'm going to take this piece, and this is the part that goes all the way across to the end. So I'm going to cut 2 1/8 off the top, and then I'll trim this part off to make it 3 1/8 wide. All right, so it was like this. Like I said, make sure you're oriented the right way. I'm going to take 2 1/8 off the top, and I'm going to be left with 1 1/8 down below. Okay, so just take your time, be nice and slow with this. Okay, so I already turned it a little too much, so 1 1/8, 1, 2, 3 3/8. Okay, so I want the 3 3/8. See, this is what I mean. You have to make sure you're going the right way because there's just a little, this isn't perfectly square. All right, so this goes this way. This is 3 3/8 side to side. So that's how I'm going to rotate it and cut off 2 1/8. Leaving 1 1/8 on the other side. I'm just going to double check because I have a grid mark over here. So sure enough, 1 1/8 and 2 1/8. Right? Measure twice or 3 or 4 times and then cut. That's what all the carpenters say. All right, so I'm going to flip it this way so I keep myself oriented. That's what the diagram looks like. I'll bring that in. And this one, we're taking off this little piece over here. So I want 3 1/8 that way. So again, look at how very little waste we have here. Just a little piece, put that aside. And we have that there. This piece we're going to cut into 3 very small squares. It's already 1 1/8 tall. We're going to cut it into thirds so they're 1 1/8 wide as well. Because on our DSP, we are going to have a 1-inch piece that's going to go on here. Okay, so 1 1/8 and 1 1/8. I'm just going to double check. It's 1 1/8 on the other side. Yep, looking good. So now we have 3 squares, 1 1/8 square. And I'm going to lay them back down right in the spot where they look in the diagram. All right, so now our top part is all done. Now we're going to go down to the bottom part. Now, I'm going to look and see where the line goes all the way through. I'm going to cut vertically down here at 4 1/8 long. So this is the part we're going to cut 4 1/8 long here. Okay, if you're just joining in, we're doing a one-sheet wonder. It's where you're taking 1 sheet of cardstock or designer series paper. It can be cardstock too. And we're creating several cards with it based on how you cut it up. Right, keeping things oriented. I have to lay them back down again so I don't get mixed up because I can get easily distracted. Stay organized. So this is the part I'm going to now cut into strips. We want 2 at 5/8 inch and 2 of them at 1 1/8 inch. Now I find it's easier to hold the bigger piece of cardstock and cut the little ones off first, and then you're left with the bigger ones. If you cut the bigger ones, then it's hard to hold a smaller piece and get that 5/8. Just my thing. So I'm going to turn this, rotate this 90 degrees. I'm going to cut 5/8 inch off first. Now, if you have a measurement on this side of your cutting channel, that's always easiest because you can hold it with your other hand. It depends how your trimmer works. Okay, so 4/8 is a 1/2 inch, so you want to go one beyond that to get your 5/8. There's one, and then do another one, 5/8. This is the hardest part, guys. All right, just not that it's hard, but you just want to stay focused and be aware of where you're going with this. Okay, so now we need 2 that are 1 1/8. So together that makes 2 1/4. Let me double check. And sure enough, I'm at 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut that in half, 1 1/8, each one. But, you know, I just have to double check myself all the time. All right, I'm going to lay those back down the way they look in my diagram, so I know I have all the pieces. Okay, 1 1/8 on top, and the 5/8 on the bottom. All right, we're almost done. And then this part here, 2 1/8 square. And this one, 2 1/8, same width, by 1 1/8. So since both of these are 2 1/8, I'm just going to cut off the side. So I have the 2 1/8 wide. And then I'll cut across this way. So here we go, picking it up in the same direction. And we want 2 1/8 wide. So this is close because this is just 2 3/8. So we're just going to cut a little sliver off. So out of that 6 1/2 by 6 3/4 cardstock piece, you just have a few little strips of waste. Now we want to rotate it. All right, we cut this part off already. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to cut off 1 1/8, and I'll be left with 2 1/8 over there. So let's turn it this way. 1 1/8 I can measure on this side, and then a 2 1/8 on this side. I'm not going to do the I'm going to do the 1 1/8 first on this side, because we're going to be left with that little scrap again. And now I'm going to measure 2 1/8. So we're left with just an 1/8 inch scrap. So now that's a square. All right, so out of that 6 1/2 by 6 3/4 cardstock, this is all that's left. And you know what? You can even use some of these little pieces to supplement your designer series paper on these layouts later. All right, let's lay it all out and see what we've got. All right, so that's what we have for our cardstock mats. Each of these is going to have a designer series paper piece on it. And then the fun part is we get to arrange them on the card front. So I know this is kind of big for you to see the whole thing all at once, but this is what we have. On this diagram, I added that you have to hold this in the orientation so that the 6 3/4 is the height and the 6 1/2 is the width. If you do the math, you'll see that it all adds up. You know, like you're adding 3 1/8 plus 1 1/8 3 times. You can figure it out, but for a quick reference, I put that up on top, and I can share that with you guys. Just remember, it's not my layout. It was Patricia Dominicci, and I think she even got it from somebody else, but tweaked it a little bit. So there we go. Now I'm just going to move that slightly over, and I'm going to now cut the designer series paper. This one is much easier because it's more even numbers. Okay, there are no halves or quarters or eighths. The cardstock was that because we want that little bit of 16th inch border all the way around. So that's why I say get that out of the way first. Now as I cut this, I'll just transfer it right over to those mats, and I'll be organized. There we go. Yes, I will, Jan, I will share the template. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, and it even has Patricia's name on there, so I'm not taking credit for that. Just want to let you know. All right, so there's a template for the cardstock, and there's a template for the designer series paper. And you can see they're all even numbers. Woohoo, right? So much easier now. Well, okay, there is a half there, but yeah. Whoa, yeah, send me hearts on that. Okay, I'll be sharing these with you. All right, so again, we're going to cut horizontally because that's where this is just all going to cut nice and evenly. But you want to cut across where it goes all the way first. Okay, you don't want to cut here because it's hard to stop and you're not going to go all the way through, right? So you want to cut the line that goes all the way through first. So that will be horizontally. Because it's 6 by 6, it's not going to matter too much, except I want you to be cognizant of if your designer series paper has a direction. When you're first making this card, you might want to choose one that doesn't have a particular direction horizontal or vertical, something like this, right, from the Countryside Inn, which everybody loves. Woo! Give me thumbs up or hearts if you love this paper. This is the one that I used on my sample last night, and I'm going to show you how beautiful that turned out. So this one, it could go any direction. So that's what's kind of nice about this. This one has a direction. So that's one reason why I chose this one as well, to make you aware and help you think that out. So we're going to cut across horizontally 3 inches, right? And then we go 3 inches straight across there. And then we're going to cut a 3-inch square wide. So that top corner is going to line up with this cardstock over here. Like I said, if my screen were wide, guys, then I would you'd be able to see all that. So 3 inches this way, horizontally. There we go. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Hold on. I'm a little wrong here. See, I even wrote it on here. Even though this paper is oriented this way, if you have a direction for your designer series paper, you want this to be the top, because you're going to be using some of these strips as a vertical. All right. So I'm glad I caught myself. Whew. See, I'm trying to think of everything here. So I am actually, this would be the way it's going to be. All right. So this is not to scale, obviously, this here. But it's just, I just printed it out big so that's easy to read. So the top is actually going to be what looks like the left side over here. So it's going to be like this. So when I cut my 3 inches, it's going to be this way and then this way. On the square, it's not going to matter so much, but on these long strips, it will. So here we go. I'm going to cut it this way, 3 inches. Sorry if I confused you at first. I caught myself. See that? Oh, there's always more paper. That's for sure. All right, I'm going to, as I cut these, like I said, I'm going to lay them out over here onto my cardstock right away. But again, I'm going to leave these in the direction that I need to, so I remember where to cut them. So 3 by 3. And this piece is going to go right on top of here. I'm just going to lay it out right there. Eventually it gets glued down. Okay, so now this is 3 inches wide. Here's another 3 inches wide. 3 and 3 make 6. 2 inches tall. All right, so I have to remember my cardstock was facing this way. So I'm going to cut, this way. Okay, 3 inches by 2, and then I'll have 1, 1, and 1. All right. Okay. Oh, we're frozen. I wonder why. It shouldn't be. So I'm cutting. Hopefully on a replay it will be okay. Okay, 2 inches here. Anybody else having issues? Patty's is frozen. I don't know if it's me or her or the World Wide Web. Who knows? All right, this is going to get cut into 1 inch. Now, unfortunately, this didn't catch too many flowers. Okay, not frozen for Nadine. Thank you. All right, hopefully it works out, Patty. These are all going to be 1 inch. Okay, it's good. Hi, Isabel, South Africa. Oh boy, you're up late again. Thanks for joining on. Always nice to see you here. But you know, we'll make it work. It's okay. These might not end up being the most interesting looking squares, but your card is going to be so beautiful in other ways. Whoever receives it is not going to think twice on it. All right, so there they are. Those are going on those little 1 1/8 squares. Remember we had those there, right? I'll just turn that a little bit. See, I'm laying it out there. All right, now we work on the bottom part. And remember, this is the top of my paper here. And then this was the bottom of my paper. All right, so I'm actually going to be cutting 4 inches by 1. So what happened here? Did I do this wrong? Oh, yeah, I might have done this a little backwards, guys. Oh, well, you know what? that's the beauty of live. We're gonna just improvise a little bit. See, I held it the wrong way when I cut it. I wasn't thinking, I'm too busy talking. So now we're going to have to cut 4 inches this way by 1 and 1, and then 1/2 inches down here. But you know what? We're just going to change up the design. So you'll see the flexibility of this one sheet wonder, how you can design the cards exactly like whoever's demonstrating, me or Patricia or anybody else, or you can make it your own. Just change them around a little bit. Use the back side of the paper. We are going to mix and match them, so we're going to make this work. Okay, working on a fly. So this is 4 inches wide, and I need 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 and 1. So like I said, I like to use the other side there, because if I try to do 1/2 inch here, then I have very little to hold on to when I close my flap. So I love the Stampin' Up! Trimmer that has 1.5 inches worth of measurements on the right side of the channel. So 1/2 inch, another 1/2 inch, because remember, these are going to go on the 5/8 inch cardstock. And then we have on either side here, we have 1 inch. All right, so I'm going to lay those out onto the cardstock. There and there. Let me just move this over a little bit. Just laying them all out. Okay, now I'm not gluing them all down this way because, like I said, some of them we're going to flip over and use the flip side. So you can, like I said, make it your own. You don't have to do the exact same layout. Just use all the pieces. All right, then this last one down here, we need 2.5 by, 2 by 2, and then we need 2 by 1. And this will all work out. This has no scraps at all. See, as I'm measuring here, 1 inch on this side, 2 inches on that side. So no scraps to that 6 by 6 whatsoever. Like I said, I loved that we had the measurements for the cardstock, so I didn't have to figure out 1/8 of an inch for each little piece. We started with the one piece of cardstock and zip, 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 zip. Once you're used to doing it, it's easy. And with the cardstock, you don't have to worry about the orientation, right? Either way. All right, so now we have all our pieces here. I'm going to just try to get through this really quickly. In addition to our card bases, we have a vanilla front and we have vanilla inside. So I'm just going to put the insides to the side for a moment because you guys can work that out on your own. Put a little something pretty on the inside. Get my bone folder. I'm going to do these. You'll see how quickly this goes once you have this all together. Again, I like to just lay them all out before I glue anything down, so I can see which side I want flipped or what side I'm going to use the actual flower print on. And again, my screen is not real wide here, so I'm just going to move these aside. Boop, boop, boop. And to lay out each one, right like this. I'll lay my vanilla there. Again, I'm not attaching the vanilla yet either because we're going to stamp a sentiment on there. 3, 4, and 5. Now, one of these was a little long, or a little short, wasn't it? I can't even tell. Oh, it's this one here. All right, so I'm not going to glue that down, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so one of the cards is going to have this whole piece right there. That's going to be the star of the show. A sentiment down here, maybe some embellishments, maybe a ribbon going across. So that's one card. All right, another card is going to have this piece and one of the strips. I'm going to flip one of the strips over so that we have contrasting prints there. And again, you can set it up however you want. A lot depends on the shape of your sentiment. In the original cards that I saw, it was actually like this. Okay, oriented this way, but you know what? My print is that way, and that looks lovely too, doesn't it? So that would be card number 2. And then card number 3 will have the the skinny strip this time. And I have a choice here. I'm thinking this out, guys. So this one has a little bit more of the printed flower, and this one has just more of the stems. So I'm going to save this for when I want to use that. I'm going to flip this one over since that one is not as fun to look at, let's say. I don't know. Okay, so we have that skinny one. And we're going to use these 3 little 1-inch squares, 1-inch DSP. Anyway, the design that this other gal did had them all like this. And then stamped a little something down here and had a sentiment. You can add, I suggested that you have stamps. You can add some stamped elements to this. Here's the inked and tiled. I could put one of those little leaves there. I'm not going to do them all in front of you today. I'll do them up later and post them in the comments. You could put something that coordinates from the stamp set stamped on here very lightly as a background. Stamp your sentiment on there. Another way you can do this, obviously you could turn it horizontally if you want. You can, what I did with the card I did last night with where the DSP was not in a vertical or horizontal orientation, I turned these on a diagonal. Now, because this has a vertical orientation, that really wouldn't be so pleasing necessarily, but you can put these however you like, spread them out, whatever. It's going to have 3 squares and a little strip of border. All right, so I probably will try stamping a little something on the background there, stamping that leaf, and I'll show you that finished product later. So that's card number 3. Now number 4, we're just going to use these 2 strips here. All right, and again, originally it was designed to go vertically, and you'll see that in my sample from last night with the countryside in. But because I cut these the other way, we are going to just orient it the other way. It's okay. It's all good. You can make it work. Okay, you guys are creative. Once you figure out how you want this all down, you can do that. All right, do these match up? No, those aren't matching up. But that's okay. So, you know, even that looks pretty. Put a nice sentiment over here. Maybe put a little flower over here. And you have a beautiful card. Separate it, put something in between. Turn this over, have a contrast. All right, play around with it, see what works for you. Now let's, I like more color on that perhaps. And maybe I'll stamp one of the flowers and whatever. I don't know. I'll keep it a surprise. Okay, you'll have to come back and see what I end up doing with that. Okay, card number 4. There you go. Okay, and card number 5. Again, this one was originally, the sample that I saw was oriented horizontally, and this was flipped over, and it was like that, which was kind of nice. This is kind of like, looks like a little underlining statement for that, and had a little stamp on the side. Like I said, maybe the leaf would look pretty on there, and then maybe stamped off very lightly, and then a sentiment on there, maybe just a flower or so. But again, you can do it however you want. I ended up doing something a little different. I just overlapped these with my countryside in and put my sentiment and everything over here. This could be a vertical card. Just play around with it. You know, don't think that it has to be one way or the other, and that's that. All right? Just play around and see what you like. Maybe you want to even mix some of these in a different way. Who knows? Maybe I want this piece with this. I don't know. Play around. Let's see how it goes. But at least you have something to start with, and then you can shuffle it around. It's kind of like when you pick out furniture. You like a certain amount of furniture. You envision how it's going to look in your house. But then once it's in there, you might have to tweak things a little bit. Oh, I even like this offset a little bit. That looks kind of cool there. And then there's room for something up here and maybe some embellishments. Maybe you could put a ribbon on here. And speaking of ribbon, I did not have Calypso Coral ribbon. And I'm thinking, okay, I didn't have Lagoon. I didn't have Crushed Curry. All right, a lot of my ribbon is retired and I have to stock up on new things. And some of the new ribbon I bought was not those colors. So I did have the new ribbon, this Ribbon Duo Combo Pack, which is Petal Pink and Lemon Limeade, 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch ribbon. Oh, I'm off the camera, sorry. Okay, Petal Pink, Lemon Limeade, and this, I used my Stampin' Blend to color Calypso Coral. Voila! As long as you have your blend, you can make any ribbon, any color you need. So I am going to play around with using that ribbon on some of these cards once I put it all together. And I'm going to purposely mix them up in a different way that I did for my original samples. So let me just show you those really quickly, and then we're going to call it a day for the day. And don't forget to put your things on the inside. So here, girls, ready to be wowed? Oh my gosh, I just love these. That paper, Countryside Inn, everyone's loving it. Okay, so here's our card number 1, just with that big designer paper. Let the designer paper do all the work for you. It's nice and easy. And then here was card number 2. I notice I used the white baker's twine on these. And aren't you loving these sentiments? This is, I have to say, this is one of my new favorite sets. Simple, but so versatile, and I just love those fonts. The layering leaves coordinates with the bow punch. We've had that bow punch for a while now, but nothing really coordinated with it, although it worked well on its own. But now we have stamps that you can actually punch out and have those flowers there too. But I love the fonts. I love the sayings, and I love the fonts. Those are all the sayings I ever need, really. That's about it. They work for anything. Okay, here is card number 3 with little squares. See how I turn them on diagonal and offset them? All right. Good morning, Marcia. Hi. And I did my sentiment over there. Of course, added rhinestones to brighten this up a little bit. Add that little bit of sparkle. All right. And then card number 4 was this one with the 2 long strips oriented vertically. See, with this pattern, it can go either way, so you have a lot more flexibility. I use the Petal Park stamp set to coordinate because the Countryside Inn doesn't have images. It just has the frames that coordinate with the dies. So these flowers I thought worked very well with that, stamped in boho blue, and the coordinating punch to cut those out. All right, and then here's another one I used the flowers on. See how I oriented that a little bit differently there. So let me just show you really quickly. This one, this is the one in progress, right? And then this is the finished. Right? I'm going to make a slightly different layout just so you can see. Same card pieces, but slightly different. All right, here's the next one. That was, this one has to go horizontally because the way I cut it, but you know what, it's going to work. So there's the progress, there's the finished one. Here's the one with the little squares. Again, I can't turn it diagonally, but I will make that work in another way. So amazing when you see not quite done and then something finished. It's like, wow, very nice. And like I said, the paper is just doing all the work for you. It's the star of the show for sure. All right, so here, just 1 3x3 square. Can't get much easier than that, right? Okay. Oh, thank you, Becky. Thanks, Teresa. All right. Oh, Marsh, you forgot the time change. Oh, well, we're about ready to wrap up, but please watch the replay, okay? All right. This one, if we're a little smaller, actually, I was thinking it could go diagonally. That could, well, not with this pattern, of course, but, you know, you can always try it, cut it down a little bit, make a diagonal, make a diamond out of it. So choose a paper that you like both sides of so that you can mix and match them. All right, so there we go. I just love those rhinestone gems on there. By the way, guys, there are plenty of rhinestone gems. They have overstock of them, so you can order them freely and not worry about them not being available. Okay, so this one, again, has to go horizontally, and you'll see what I end up doing with that. I have to figure it out myself. And then here it is with the strips vertically. All right. Learned a lot. Thank you. Oh, good. Have a good sleep, okay? I know if I start watching things about cards too late at night, then I'm awake. My mind is spinning. I'm dreaming about card making and going on and on. So, all right. So just a couple things to wrap up, guys. I'm going to try to flip my camera around again and see you. I want to remind you, one more time, Designer Series paper, 15% off. Selected most of the designs, not all of them, but most of them are 15% off. The even some of the online exclusives. Don't forget to check the online exclusives. Not everything is in the catalog these days. Oh, it's not late? Oh, okay. All right, I'm sorry. I thought last time, Isabel, that you said you were on a late side there. Okay, I'm forgetting the time change. All right, I'm going to flip around and then say, hello, hi. I am also going to be doing a paper share. And I was thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't do it because it's, you can get 15% off to buying the whole thing yourself. But I said, well, still, there's some people who don't want the whole thing themselves. All right, they want samples. Maybe you want to try out some paper before you get the whole thing. You can try it out with my paper share and see if you like it or not. If it's not quite your thing, but you wanted just a little bit of it, that's fine. That's good. Maybe you didn't think too much of it, and once you start playing with it, you change your mind. That's happened a lot, right? Show me who's that happened to. You weren't sure until you saw it in person or started working with it. So those are great reasons for the paper share. I kept my pricing the same for two reasons, even though there's 15% off. Two things. First of all, postage has gone up since the last time I did it. I mean, actually, last time postage was already up, and I really don't make a ton of money. I don't make any money at all on paper shares, but it's sales, that, and I can offer this for you, so it's okay. So postage is expensive. I was thinking of if I would have to raise my price, and I had to think that out. But I like to give you 12 by 12 sheets, and that adds up. Some people, a lot of demonstrators don't give you the 12 by 12 sheets. They cut them either 6 by 6 or 6 by 12. It's a lot cheaper to mail it that way. When I have to mail a bigger envelope, it just adds up. Postage is funky. It goes by weight, it goes by size, it goes by how far it has to go. So I like to keep just a flat rate low for postage, and that way I can offer you a best deal possible. The pricing in the catalog has gone up. All right. So even though it's 15% off, the new prices, it really is just $1.50 more per pack. And what you end up getting is about a pack and a half. So you figure it's only about $2 savings with what I send you. So that's going to help cover the increase in the postage. And I'm also going to include a sampling of some of the gems. So that will cover that extra $2 that you might feel that don't feel like you're getting gypped. I would never gyp you. All right. So I'm just going to give you a little sampling of some of the tinsel gems, throw it in there as a thank you. And, just so that you're getting something a little bit more. And that way I don't have to change all my prices on PayPal and all that stuff. So it's all going to work out. It's still to your advantage, and I hope you take advantage of that. That's going to go start tomorrow. So look to my blog. I'll send out an email to my newsletter. If you're not on my newsletter, go to my blog, stampwithlorraine.com, and you can sign up for the newsletter there. You'll get a free tutorial when you do. And also with the paper share, I include a full sheet of cardstock to coordinate with all the colors in the pack. So you will get over 40 sheets of cardstock. You get 4 different designs of Designer Series paper. you will get over 40 sheets of cardstock that coordinate with your DSPs. Not everybody has all the colors. Some of my avid stampers, you have all the colors, I know, but not everybody does. So this way you can see what you like, and you can make cards right away without having to order full packs of paper. You get 4 PDF tutorials to go with each of the patterned paper. Okay, so you can obviously mix and match, but you will get 4 tutorials on suggestions on how to use that paper, 4 different ones. And a lot of people have done this, so I do limit it. I'm not going to be sending out hundreds of them. So, but a lot of people have done it in the past, and a lot of people have done it year after year, each time. So they love it. They love how I package it up, and they've enjoyed that. So that will go live tomorrow, but I need the orders by the 15th. So keep in touch with that. If you have any questions, just ask. Let me know, email me, or ask in the chat here. One last thing, the joint offer, $99 gets you $155 worth of product. If you join my team, you don't have to do videos. That's the first question. I don't want to do videos. You don't have to do videos. You don't even have to have a customer. You can be your own customer and just meet the quarterly minimum, which is low, and you get a 20% discount. You can build up to 25% discount, and it's just a lot of fun being on the team. I do special things for my girls, and we have meetings and learn more about stamping and stamp together. So actually, Melinda and Patty are already on my team. They're on the live today, and they've been with me for a little while, so they're having a great time. So if you have any questions, let me know about that. That goes until the end of June as well. All right, any questions, let me know, and put them in the chat. I will go through all the comments. I couldn't watch everything as I'm demonstrating, but I do read them all and try to reply to everybody. So thank you again for watching, everyone. I'm going to go back down and play with the grandkids, and it's going to be a fun day. All right, so happy stamping. I'll put those other cards together. Check them out down below. Post your versions, please. All right, please share. We love to see all the different versions. I learn from you too. I do, because some people come up with ideas and I said, well, I never thought of that. Or just like to see my work in a different light, with your cardstock, with your colors, with your layouts, and just use this as a springboard for your own creativity. All right. Thanks for joining in, everybody, and have a great week.